Good morning, everybody. Welcome to So Many Whatnots. I'm Willow, and this is the Farmer's Wife 1930s Sampler Quilt series. Today, we are doing the dreaded M, which has something like 80 some pieces. It's crazy. So, I'm going to do this one a little different than I've done all the others. But first, before I explain that, let's take a look at the block. It is gorgeous. It is absolutely adorable. I love the look of it. I just dread it because there are a million pieces. Okay, not a million, but let's be honest. There is a ton. So we're going to use a rotary cutter today. I'm going to try to keep it out of the ring light. Don't mind my marks on my ruler. This is for another quilt I'm working on. And I'm using this big Creative Grids ruler because it's got the grippies on the back. These little grippers, and they really help. Let's see here. I will also need my rotary cutter, which is quite filthy at the moment because I have been using it for other projects. I could probably use a new blade on that, but we're just gonna go with it today. Okay. My apologies if any part of this video gets loud. They are doing construction on my road, and I have an old house, so I have very sturdy but thin walls or windows. I hear everything. So just a forewarning. Also, this video may possibly be in two parts. I am not sure yet, but like I said, when it has this many pieces, it takes a very long time. So I haven't split any videos lately. This may be one. I have a feeling this is going to be a 4-hour block. We'll see. I have not made this yet. I am hoping the rotary cutting instructions are correct. So for template A, which is the square, we're going to be cutting 1 1/4 by 1 1/4 inch squares. And then for the triangle, we're going to be cutting 1 5/8 inch and then slicing those in half. So that doesn't feel right, but we're gonna find out because I'm gonna take these templates out. I'm gonna cut the squares first, but I just want to pop this on my ruler and make sure. Yep, those are 1 1/4. Okay, so I know the squares are right. The triangles though seem a little sketchy to me. So I don't really want to. If we cut those 1 5/8, which would be right here, and then cut those in half. Yeah, that might be right. That might actually be right. I'm going to keep this out because after I slice one diagonally out of the squares we make for this, I want to make sure it's the right size before I sew the entire block together because it's a lot. Okay, so like I said, normally I do not use my rotary cutter. So, all right, first let's start with the squares. Since we know they're right, we're going to cut 26 out of the print. I'm just looking at my book to make sure my colors line up with what they're supposed to be. Sometimes they're a little different. Okay, so that's correct. Then we're going to cut 14 squares out of the green and only 4 squares out of the blue. Okay, so let's do the squares, 1¼ by 1¼ and then I will come back and we'll cut the other squares for the triangles. Here we go. we're gonna do the triangles, and I'm gonna start, oh, I'm wondering if I even have enough of this. I need to just look really quick and see if I have some more. And so I'm just gonna grab my basket here. I don't always look at the pattern before I pick out my fabrics. Okay, I do have some, perfect. So we're gonna use that instead of this strip. And I'm just gonna put the green in here because we're done with that. This is my basket. I have showed you in, I think, the beginning video, but this is kind of the state of it right now. Okay, so I do have enough now. And if you noticed on my squares, I do not like using the crinkly edge. But in order to cut my 2.5-inch strip and have enough, I used it because I could just cut it right in half. And so I used it on the green also, and it'll work. It's not my favorite, but it'll work. So I am gonna cut it off of this though because I really don't like it. Okay, so we're gonna cut 20 triangles from this and the dark blue. So we're gonna cut 10 squares and then slice them in half. So what I'm gonna do is cut off this edge. I should have maybe ironed this piece, but I didn't. So I am so bad at ironing my pieces. I'm gonna actually cut a good little chunk off though to make it a little easier to cut with the rotary. All right. And then we are doing 1 5/8 inch. So I'm gonna line that up on the 1.5 and then go one more over, and that's gonna be 5/8. It's a little hard to see on this side. Okay. All right, and so I'm gonna cut this. And then let's see here. I think I'll need 2. I'm just guessing here, but I think I'll need 2. So let's do that again. Let's line that up on the 1.5 and then scooch over one more to make it 5/8. And we will cut that. I hope I cut this right because that's all I have left. All right, then I'm gonna just stack these. It is getting so loud outside. Oh goodness, I hope that I am louder than those trucks. They're putting a new water main in, so it's gonna be like this for a while. So my next few videos may be very loud. All right, so I'm just gonna cut 1 square. Well, 2. Okay, and then I'm gonna cut one of these in half on the diagonal. And then I am going to, oh, it's right here. Okay, I'm gonna put this on here and hope this is the right size. And all I'm looking for is the top and the bottom. I'm not looking for the edges. Oh, look at that, it is. Okay, it's perfect. So on the templates, they round these corners off, okay? We aren't gonna do that. We don't need to do that for this block. If it was another more difficult block where the triangles hung over another shape, then I would definitely cut those off to make it easier on me. Because I'm really bad at gauging what 1/4 inch is. Okay, so this is perfect. So let's continue cutting. I am going to put this away. We are going to cut 10 So I only need 5. I have to do math. Okay, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, let me just do the math with you guys quick. So I have 2. That'll be 4. This will be 6 and 8. Oh, no, I need 20 total, so I need 10 squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. It is legit a Monday, though. Like, it's actually a Monday. Okay, so this is 6. And being very careful to cut on the 5/8 and not the half. 2, 4, 6, 8. And this will be 10. And that will give me 20 triangles. Okay, so I'm going to slice all these in half, and then I'm going to do 20 of the blue. So I'll be doing 10, cutting 10 of these out also. All right, here we go. All right, I did just iron this piece a little bit, not the whole thing, just the part I'm using because it was really folded and these pieces are small. So I did do that. And I just wanted to pop on here and let you know that real quick that I did do just a itty bitty bit of ironing, not much. And now I'm gonna cut my 20 out of this. Okay, here is the fun part. Yay! This is going to take a while to put together. Oh, that's a big long dog hair. Wow. All right. Yeah, so this will take a minute. Let's start in the corners and we'll do these in 4 blocks. So what we're actually going to make 4 blocks. And the book has us making them in strips. We'll see. I might do 4 patches and then a big 4 patch. But the book wants us to make 4 strips and then put the 4 patches together. So we'll just see what happens. But right now we are going to make 4 blocks. So we have 4 corners for our 4 blocks. Next, we are going to take some of these. Let's see. We're just gonna go down. And some of them will go a different way. So like we're going this way here, but here we're going up. All right. And so let's just put these in strips like the book wants us to. That way, we probably should do it the way the book wants us to anyway. It's not always my favorite way, but all right. So all of these are going to be mirror images. All right. That is row 1. Row 2, we're going to start with this and just leave a little space so that we know how we're working. Okay, so this will go light, well, print or light blue, green, and then print. And then what I'm gonna do is save the triangles for last. So we're gonna get almost all the squares down. And then we're going to put the triangles down. And then there's a few more squares that go in the center, and we'll put those down last. Okay, so that's row 2 without triangles. Row 3 is going to be green and then print. And then row 4 is going to be print. So I'm just going to go and put these down here like this. Again, leaving a space. All right, and save these 2 for the center. And then for this, I'm going to do 2. I'm going to put one here and one right next to it. Okay, so one there and one there. Whoops. Apologies for my dog. Again, they're doing construction and she likes to bark at people, squirrels, leaves, the wind. I'm convinced she can see it. Because a lot of times there is nothing out there and she is yapping. I think she yaps more than I do. Okay, so we have almost all the squares laid out. So now we're going to put the half square triangles. And so, and these have the corners, so the points. Most of the blocks we make don't have the points. These do. So we're just going to ignore how big they are, and they're going to have to overlap a little bit. But we're going to put 3 here, okay? And then we're going to put 3 going the other way. And if I had a bigger board, which I do, but it's too big, I would make sure there were gaps here. We're not sewing these together like that. We are making half square triangles, but they're just gonna have to overlap because that's how my board is. Okay, so there's only 4 per row, so we're not putting anything here. All right, so and now we're gonna take these and we are gonna overlap those, and I'm just gonna overlap them really good so I know that these are getting sewn together into a half square triangle because like I said, we don't have a lot of space here. And normally, I would have the space to make it look a lot nicer, but I don't. All right, so those are going to be half square triangles. Okay, let's see here. So next we're going to take these again, and just on these 2 rows, we're gonna put 2, okay? So if you look at them like this, it's a lot easier. And boy, are they ever overlapping. At least they're all cut out. I think the rotary cutter was a great idea because we would still be cutting squares out if we hadn't used that. So if you have a rotary cutter, I would suggest using those. The cutting instructions are in the, I think I got them from the PDF that is linked with the book. Also, I am making half square triangles again with the blue. So you can go to the website that's in the book and get those cutting instructions. And I did mention them at the beginning of this video also. Okay, so we're done with the half square triangles. Now we're just going to put 4 little blocks in the center. And these don't get sewn together in a 4 patch. Okay, these, you know, these are divided here. Okay, we are making 4 blocks. What are these? 16 patches? 48, yeah. So we're making 4 16 patches, and then we'll put them all together. Okay, let me see where I am on time. All right, we're pretty good. So what we're gonna do, we are going to sew all these half square triangles together, and we're gonna do that first. I am going to take those to my iron when I'm done, and I'm gonna press them open, and I don't think it matters which way you press them. It might matter a little bit, just like right here, but I think I'm gonna try to press everything toward the dark blue, and that'll just help me when I go to quilt it, because I do quilt by hand. And so I really, if I do outlining, I really need these little pieces to be open so I can get my needle in the absolutely teeny tiny triangle that it's going to be, and it is going to be a tiny triangle. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I got new pens. I am going to mark my 1/4 inch on the back, and we are just going to sew these together just like that. And definitely start a 1/4 inch in on these if you are, unlike me, good at measuring, because we're probably going to end up snipping those ends off. I am not used to making 1/4 inch triangles that are 1/4 inch triangles. Oh my goodness. I am not used to making half square triangles this way. I'm used to making them bigger and trimming them down. But when we press those open, we're gonna cut these off because we don't want that extra bulk. So it's definitely important, if you can, start in a little bit, preferably a 1/4 inch, but I think I normally do more like an 1/8 because like I said, I'm really bad at gauging measurements, and you think after all this time of quilting that I would be good at measurements. I'm not. I am not. I don't think I will ever be. I could quilt for 100 years and be terrible at measurements. So what I'm gonna do is mark these, sew these. There is a lot. There's, let's see, 3, 6, 9, 12, 14, 16, 18. There are 20 of them. This is going to take a very long time. But I'm not gonna speed it up. I am just gonna go at my own pace. And this might be a 2-day block. Okay, here we go, guys. Now, what I want to do, I'm just going to double check. So I'm not going to get my iron out right now. There's just no need at the moment. When I have all of these finished, I will. But what I want to do is just check. I am going to cut these points off here. I'm just going to use my scissors. If you want to use a rotary cutter, you can. I'm just using scissors. And that's why we start in, is so we don't accidentally cut our stitching off. Okay, so what I want to do is just double check that these are the right size. So I'm going to take my blue one. I'm just going to stick that on top of there. And it looks like they might be a little big. Just a teeny tiny little bit. So I may adjust my stitching just a hair. I'm not going to redo this one. Let's see. So let me check it against one more. Let me check it against the green. Yeah, just a hair big. I feel like they'd be perfectly fine if I sewed them in. Yeah, I think they'll be fine. I am going to adjust my stitching just a hair though, and go just a little closer to the line. Maybe not on the line, but I'm just going to get just a little, I don't know if I can get closer without going on the line actually. Yeah, so I just want to get as close as possible, because these are very small pieces, so I want them to be very accurate. So yeah, I think it would be okay. But I am going to go a little closer. Okay, so I'm going to do one pretty much on the line, and I'm going to fold that open and see the size, and then we'll go from there. So, and that's really just, I just want to be as precise as possible. And so we're just going to talk through this. And I'm not using pins, and I won't be using pins for most of this because the pieces are just so small. All right. Oh, I'm so nervous to sew closer to the line because, or even on the line, because it makes a really big difference. And it makes me very nervous on these blocks and like Dear Jane. Other stuff I'll just sew on the line because I'm not trying to get the measurements right. And mostly I do sew on the line, but for stuff like this, when you're working with a pattern, you really need to do a scant 1/4 inch. And so I'm like on the line, but I'm on like the right side of the line. It's a little awkward. All right. So let's press this open and then see, and I could do finger pressing, but we'll get that really, really flat. I should measure before I cut these off, but I'm not. All right, now let's see how this, let's go with a green. Oh. It's the same. It's the same. Oh goodness. Okay. So, I think it'll work out in the end. Wow, that's this. Okay, well, let's sew these on the line. How did that? It must have been my measuring, because that came out exactly the same. How funny. Okay, well, we're just gonna sew these up. I don't want to go inside the line. It may get a little too much, and yeah, so, all right, so we're just gonna sew these up. I'm actually gonna put these little scissors away, keep these out. I'm just gonna finish sewing these. When we put it all together, it will end up working out. We can finagle the seams a little bit when we put them together, so I'm really not worried about that tiny little bit. I'm just gonna be a little mindful of it when we sew the blocks together. If you want to keep sewing these until you get it perfect, by all means go for it, but there's like 80 some pieces in here, and yeah, I'm not gonna mess with that. So all right, so I'm actually going to stop this video and go refill my coffee, and then I'm gonna finish sewing these together. So it'll be about a few seconds for you guys. It'll be about 10 minutes for me. All right, I'll be right back. put these back on here. And I believe the blue goes out and the print goes in. So I'm just gonna put all these back like this. Nope, that's wrong. This way. Okay. Because there's supposed to be a little divide in here, but it's not much. So, all right. So now we are going to sew all these rows together. These are wrong. Oh my goodness, it's Monday. It is Monday, my friends. There we go. So we're going to get all these rows sewn together and then we'll be on our way. There are so many pieces in this, so it will take a long time again. I think we're coming up on, let's see here, we're about an hour and a half in, I believe, maybe hour 20. So it's not going too bad. All right, so now we have to make all these 16 patches. And so how do I want to do this? I want to sew these all, I'm not going to be able to press those that way without folding all that. Okay. I may have to press everything toward the white because I pressed all these toward the blue. Because if we put these together and press them toward the blue, there's going to be so much bulk here. So, oh, well, but when we press those, that happens there too. Okay, all these might get pressed open too. I have no idea how I'm going to press these. Let's just put it like that. I probably should have pressed everything open. My other computer shut off here, and that's where I listen to my music or my my books. I'm finishing a book right now, so while I'm sewing, I'm listening to a book on my headphones on my other computer, and recording on this one with my phone. So I've got all the technology going at my desk. Anyways, so let's see. I don't know how I'm gonna press them. So for now, let's just start sewing these together. So we really just have to sew lines. Mark your 1/4 inch, fold down, sew, and then sew the next one on and the next one. And so we're going to have 4, 8, 16 strips, and then we will sew those into blocks, and then we'll sew those blocks together. So we still have a lot of sewing left to do. We are really just in the beginning still, the beginning half, I would say. So I think the easiest way to do this would be to mark the 1/4 inch on, oh, I hate to do it on every single one. You could do it on like both sides of, both edges of one and then one edge of another, or you could do 3 of them. And I think I might just do 3 of them. It may just be easier to do it that way. And this is going to take me a long time to mark all these. So, yeah, I'm going to do 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I'm just going to mark everything here. And that may take me till the end of this segment, which is about 23 more minutes. So anyways, yeah, that's how I'll do it. So, I don't know why I did that. So I'll mark here, I'll mark on this one, I'll mark on this one, and I will not mark on this one. And then I'll just start sewing these together. I'll do all 4. I will sew all these together and then I will press them because I think I will press up, down, if possible. I think that would be the easier way to do this than trying to figure out which way to do what. I'll just, everything goes up, everything goes down, everything goes up, everything goes down, etc., etc. Yeah. Or open. Everything could also go open. There's just so many on here, I don't know what to do. But that is my preliminary idea of how to press these. And I will do it with the iron. Mostly because when I use this too much, my wrist starts hurting. And there's so many here, it's not worth it. Also, to get it flatter, so we can sew it together better, I would use the iron and just give it a real good press. So that's what I'm gonna do. Let's get these all marked and sewn together. Here we go. All right. Wow, that took a long time to sew all those tiny little pieces together. So after all this, my wrist needs a nice long break. So I am either going to just take an hour or so to rest and then come back, or I might just finish this up tomorrow morning. Either way, it'll be a few seconds for you, but it'll be either an hour or a day for me. So when I come back, we will sew these into 4 squares and then we will finish the block. So I'll see you shortly.